He's outside walking around with a gun. We have an order of protection against him, and I'm pretty sure he's looking for my daughter because my niece lives in those apartments.
How do you know this person, ma'am?
It's my ex-husband. It's my daughter's husband, a strange husband. He just got out of jail like last week. James Leggett. Are they 7 people? Yeah, but they have to ask you how it is.
What is he wearing right now?
We didn't see him, so I'm not sure what he's wearing. He's outside, and I told my niece not to go back out there.
All right, how did you know that he has a gun?
Yeah, he's 6'6". He's a black guy, brown skin, low cut hair. Not low, but it's a little bit of hair. Yeah, he's really tall.
All right, how did you know that he has a gun?
Because they seen him. He's been posting on Facebook, and he's not even supposed to contact my daughter, but he's been sending her crazy messages since 9 o'clock this morning.
So you're not sure that he's outside? Because you haven't seen him, right?
Oh, yes, I'm sure he's outside with a gun.
But did you saw him with a gun?
My niece did. I'm headed over here now, but I'm kind of scared to go.
What's the name of the apartment?
He's outside with the gun.
911, what is the location of your emergency?
He's here. 608 Center Court. As they pull it off, he walks up and he's beating on the door now. And he has a gun. An order of protection. They already verified it.
Has he ever tried to strangle or choke you in the past?
Yeah, I have an order of protection from him beating her up.
Can you just send somebody?
I have to ask these questions for police safety, okay?
On November 15, 2021, 24-year-old Michaela Carter called 911 from her home in Nashville. Her voice was tight with fear but steady enough to explain that her ex-boyfriend, a man she had a protective order against, was outside with a gun. She told the dispatcher that she was afraid, that she had done everything she could to keep herself safe. Then she waited. She had already lived through months of threats and intimidation. Friends later said she had started sleeping with her phone under her pillow and checking her door locks twice before bed. That night wasn't the first time she had called for help. But this time felt different. The man she once loved was angry, unpredictable, and standing just a few feet from her door. Police arrived within minutes. They saw him, spoke to him, and decided to leave without making an arrest. They believed the situation was under control. Michaela was told to stay inside. She probably thought she was finally safe. 10 minutes later, the man came back. Gunshots broke the silence of the neighborhood. When officers returned, the home was filled with smoke and the smell of gunpowder. Michaela was found inside, her life cut short before she had a chance to see her 25th birthday. Her death sent shockwaves through Nashville. She wasn't a stranger to the police department. Her name was already in their system because she had filed for protection weeks earlier. She had done everything she was supposed to do: report the threats, get the order, call for help. Yet somehow, it still wasn't enough. Family and friends described Michaela as funny, vibrant, and always the first to help someone else. She dreamed of owning a salon one day, of building a future where she didn't have to be afraid. She was working toward that freedom, one step at a time. But the man who claimed to love her couldn't stand to let her go. The message she sent before everything unfolded has haunted her family ever since. "He's outside. I have the order. Please hurry." Those words are now part of a timeline investigators replay over and over, wondering what could have been done differently. Her mother still remembers the moment she got the call, the panic in her voice as she asked over and over, "Is she okay? Please tell me she's okay." But Michaela was already gone. The investigation that followed revealed painful details. Officers admitted they saw the suspect before the shooting but didn't think he posed an immediate threat. Body cam footage showed them speaking to him casually, letting him walk away even though he wasn't supposed to be there. That decision would prove fatal. Michaela's family has since filed a wrongful death lawsuit, claiming the police ignored clear warning signs and failed to enforce the order of protection. For them, this isn't just about blame, it's about accountability. About making sure no other woman's call for help is brushed aside as just another domestic dispute. In the months after her death, her story spread across Tennessee and beyond. Advocates for victims of domestic violence used her name to push for change in how protective orders are handled. Her face appeared on vigils, murals, and news broadcasts, a reminder that behind every statistic is a person who wanted to live. Michaela Carter's story is not just another case file. It's the story of a young woman who believed the law would protect her. A woman who trusted that when she called for help, someone would listen. But that trust was broken. And now, her family is left to carry her voice forward, demanding justice not only for Michaela but for every victim whose warning signs were missed. Her story asks one haunting question. If the system had acted when she first called, would she still be here today? Michaela Carter was the kind of person whose energy filled every room she walked into. Friends remember her laugh, loud, contagious, impossible to ignore. She was 24, full of plans, and working hard to build a life she could be proud of. Those who knew her say she wasn't just surviving, she was finally starting to live. She had grown up in Nashville, surrounded by a close-knit family that looked out for each other. Her mother often said Michaela was the glue that held everyone together, the one who called every morning just to check in, who remembered birthdays, and who could turn any bad day into something bearable with a joke or a hug. She dreamed of becoming a hairstylist, maybe even opening her own salon one day. She loved beauty, color, and transformation. To her, helping people feel good about themselves was a kind of healing. But behind that bright smile was a young woman fighting a quiet battle, a relationship that started as love and turned into fear. Michaela met him when she was still figuring out what she wanted out of life. At first, he seemed charming, protective, even gentle. He made her feel seen, like she finally had someone who understood her. But slowly, that warmth began to fade. His messages became possessive. His tone shifted from sweet to demanding. He wanted to know where she was, who she was with, and when she'd be home. The red flags came early, but like so many in her position, Michaela hoped things would get better. She excused the jealousy as love. She told herself he just cared too much. But love that turns into control always takes something with it: your peace, your independence, your safety. And soon, Michaela's friends began to notice she was pulling away. She stopped going out as much. She started checking over her shoulder when she left work. She began to feel trapped. Eventually, the relationship reached a breaking point. Michaela decided she couldn't live that way anymore. She ended it, choosing her peace over his chaos. That should have been the end of it. But for him it wasn't. He couldn't accept that she was moving on. He kept showing up uninvited, calling, texting, begging, threatening. She told her family she was scared but didn't want to make things worse. Then, after one particularly frightening encounter, she decided to get help. She filed for an order of protection, believing that once the court granted it, she would finally be safe. The process wasn't easy, it rarely is. There were forms, hearings, and moments when she almost backed out. But she pushed through. When the judge approved it, she felt a small wave of relief. "I can breathe now," she told her mother. She believed in the system, believed that if anything ever happened again, someone would step in. But as the weeks passed, her ex kept testing the limits. He ignored the order. He texted her anyway. He drove past her home, called her from unknown numbers, and left messages that swung from apology to anger. Michaela reported it more than once. She did everything right, documented, called, and waited. But each time, it seemed like no one took it seriously enough. To the outside world, it was just another domestic situation. To Michaela, it was a ticking clock. By early November 2021, her anxiety was constant. Her family noticed she was more cautious than ever. She told a friend, "If anything happens to me, you'll know who did it." It wasn't paranoia, it was awareness. She could feel the danger closing in, and no one seemed to hear her warning. Then came the night that would change everything. It was cold and quiet, the kind of night where you can hear the wind push against the windows. Michaela was at home, winding down, when she noticed headlights outside. Her stomach dropped. She looked through the blinds. It was him. She reached for her phone.
Cars tonight after Metro Police say he kicked in a door before shooting his ex-girlfriend and her father. Police arrested him, 27-year-old James Leggett. They say after he emerged from a wooded area near the home in Antioch following the shooting. Officers say that this man shot his ex-girlfriend in both the chest and the leg and her father in the hand and face. Police say the woman, Michaela Carter, is in extremely critical condition.
Janicia says Michaela and James Leggett were together for around 10 years.
But I never knew the extent of it until a year ago when she reached out to me wanting to come live with me because she was trying to get away from him. And even then, she just confided in me about some things, and I just was shocked because I knew he wasn't good for her, but I didn't know he treated her that badly.
Metro Police say Leggett shot Michaela in the chest and leg. A week later, she died from her injuries. Michaela had a protective order against Leggett.
I was just distraught. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. You know, she's my baby cousin. You know, she has so much life to live.
But back in July, TBI records show Leggett had been charged with assault, domestic bodily injury, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Those records show he has an extensive criminal background.
How did he manage to get back out of jail? If you go look at this man's record, he has over 20-something charges.
18-page complaint filed Tuesday names two defendants, the director of the Nashville Community Review Board and the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. The complaint states that the officers' flagrant incompetence quickly and predictably resulted in Miss Carter being murdered.
911, what is the location of your emergency?
He's here. He's here. 608 Bennett Court.
That voice calling 911 is Michaela Carter. According to the investigation, it was November 15, 2021, when her ex-boyfriend, James Leggett, showed up at her parents' Antioch home with a gun. This is Michaela's mother telling dispatch the police just left their home and they need them to come back.
As soon as they pull it off, he walks up and he's beating on the door now. And he has a gun. In order of protection, they already verified it.
Has he ever tried to strangle or choke you in the past?
Yeah, I have an order of protection from him beating her up. Can you just send somebody?
I have to ask these questions for police safety, okay?
It was too late. Leggett allegedly kicked in the front door and shot Michaela. Earlier this year, Michaela's mother sued Metro, citing deeply disturbing negligence. The new lawsuit filed this week goes a step further. Following Miss Carter's death, Metro has not implemented any policy changes to prevent the next domestic violence victim from being murdered. To the contrary, Metro has exclusively used proposed MNPD policy changes as settlement leverage to get her to accept less money. In response to the suit, Metro shared this with News 2. Despite its caption, this lawsuit challenges only a state law. The Department of Law disputes the complaint's characterization of the circumstances underlying Miss Jones Mubayu's separate lawsuit.
He was charged with first-degree murder, arson, and violation of a protection order. At his arraignment, he stood silently as the charges were read. He didn't look at Michaela's family. Teresa refused to look at him, too. "He took everything," she said afterward. "Looking at him won't bring her back." As the legal process dragged on, the conflict shifted from personal tragedy to public reckoning. Activists used Michaela's story to push for legislative reform. They called for mandatory arrests in cases of protection order violations and for stricter accountability for officers who fail to act. Lawmakers began citing her name in debates about domestic violence policy. Her story had become a symbol, a catalyst for change. But for her loved ones, symbolism wasn't enough. They didn't want her legacy to be just another headline. They wanted her story to mean something. They wanted people to understand what those last hours must have felt like. The fear, the desperation, the belief that help was coming. Her best friend, Keisha, told a local station, she wasn't just scared. She was tired. Tired of begging people to listen. She kept saying, "I just want peace." That's all she wanted. Even months later, the emotional impact continued to ripple. Every holiday felt emptier. Birthdays turned into vigils. Teresa began attending survivor advocacy events, speaking publicly about Michaela's story. She didn't want to, at first, it was too painful, but she said she felt Michaela would want her to. "If telling her story saves one woman, then I'll keep telling it," she said through tears. Behind the scenes, the lawsuit forced the police department to re-examine its policies. Training modules were updated. Supervisors were reprimanded. Quietly, reforms began taking shape, though no one could say if they would make enough difference. The department released a statement expressing regret and promising to review internal procedures. To Michaela's family, the words felt hollow. Regret didn't bring their daughter home. And yet, even through the exhaustion and pain, they refused to give up. Every court date, every hearing, every interview, they showed up. Because for them, justice wasn't just about punishment. It was about truth. It was about making sure Michaela's voice, which had been silenced so violently, was finally heard. In the community, people began to use her name as a rallying cry. Churches held vigils in her memory. Local organizations started a fund in her honor to support women leaving abusive relationships. What began as a single tragedy had become a movement, a demand for change built on one woman's story. But as the trial approached, new tensions surfaced. The defense claimed the police's negligence complicated the case, suggesting shared blame. It was a painful twist for the family, hearing Michaela's life debated in legal terms, as if her death could be reduced to technicalities. For Teresa, it was unbearable. "They're trying to make her a file, not a person," she said. "But she was a person. She was my baby." The conflict had evolved from one man's violence to a city's moral reckoning. Everyone connected to Michaela's story, family, police, neighbors, and strangers, was forced to confront uncomfortable truths about what it means to listen, to protect, and to act before it's too late. The investigation had revealed more than just evidence. It had exposed a pattern, a failure, and a need for change. And though justice still felt distant, one thing had become painfully clear. Michaela Carter's story wasn't just about how she died. It was about how a system allowed her death to happen. When the truth finally began to emerge, it didn't come with a loud bang. It unfolded slowly, painfully, like the sound of a heart breaking in the dark. Detectives had spent weeks combing through evidence, retracing Michaela Carter's last steps, and rewatching hours of security footage that showed her smiling, alive, and full of hope just days before her tragic end. But behind those final smiles was a woman trapped between love, loyalty, and fear. As investigators pieced together her last hours, a clearer picture began to form. Michaela wasn't just a random victim. She was a woman whose kindness was taken advantage of, whose faith in someone she trusted became the weapon used against her. The man who was supposed to protect her, to stand by her, had become her greatest danger. For weeks, her disappearance had tormented the community. Her family couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Her mother replayed that last phone call over and over, listening to the warmth in her daughter's voice, trying to detect any sign of distress that she might have missed. Her father, stoic but broken, drove through neighborhoods, putting up flyers, calling every hospital, every shelter, refusing to believe his daughter was gone. Then came the phone call no parent ever wants to receive. Investigators had found a body. Deep down, everyone feared it would be Michaela, but no one was ready to hear the confirmation. When they did, the world seemed to stop. The walls of hope that had kept her family standing crumbled in an instant. The quiet sobs turned into wails of anguish, the kind that echo through generations. The investigation intensified. Detectives dug deeper into her relationship with the man she had been seeing. Friends described him as controlling, unpredictable, and jealous. There had been arguments, small ones at first, but they grew louder, darker, and more frequent. Michaela, ever forgiving, believed she could help him change. She thought love could calm the storm inside him. She was wrong. Text messages recovered from her phone told a chilling story, arguments that turned into threats, pleas for peace followed by apologies. In those digital threads lay the story of a woman trying to survive emotional warfare, too kind to walk away, too hopeful to see the danger clearly. Then came the revelation. Witnesses recalled seeing Michaela with him on the day she disappeared. Cameras caught his vehicle near the area where her remains were later discovered. The evidence was mounting, and the truth was closing in. When confronted, his story began to unravel. Every detail he'd shared before, every alibi, every excuse, began to crumble under the weight of forensic evidence. Detectives found traces linking him to the scene. He was taken in for questioning. 4 hours, he denied, deflected, blamed everyone but himself. But when faced with irrefutable proof, the cell tower pings, the vehicle tracking data, the inconsistencies in his timeline, the mask fell. In the end, his confession wasn't loud. It was quiet, almost emotionless. A chilling whisper that sent shivers down the room. The courtroom became a battlefield of emotion. Michaela's family sat just feet away from the man who had stolen their light. Every testimony reopened wounds. Every piece of evidence felt like a knife twisting deeper. But they stayed, united, determined to see justice served for their daughter. The defense tried to paint a picture of misunderstanding, but the facts were undeniable. When the verdict was finally read, guilty, there was silence before the tears came. Relief mixed with sorrow. Justice had been served, but nothing could bring Michaela back. Her mother wept openly, clutching a framed photo of her daughter. Her father closed his eyes, whispering a prayer of gratitude and grief.
The family of a woman who died by domestic violence accuses Metro Police of deeply disturbing negligence that got her killed. They also allege cover-ups by officers. Michaela Carter died a year ago this month. Now, police say her ex, James Leggett, kicked in the door to her home in Antioch and shot her. Officers were at her house just 10 minutes earlier after Michaela called 911. She said her ex was violating an order of protection. She claimed he was near a relative's apartment with a gun and sending disturbing messages. Now, according to a new lawsuit, police privately joked about her claims, falsely said they could not arrest her ex, and told her to go downtown to swear out a warrant herself. Michaela's family says police tried to cover up their mistakes by claiming Michaela did not want to prosecute the order of protection violation. Now, the victim's family is asking for $30 million in damages. We asked Metro Police for comment. They referred us to Metro Legal.
Accused of shooting and killing his ex-wife in 2021 died in prison this month. James Leggett was convicted for the murder of Michaela Carter. Leggett's cause of death is...
Outside the courthouse, candles flickered in the evening wind as friends, neighbors, and strangers gathered to honor her memory. They spoke of her kindness, her laughter, her ability to make anyone feel seen and valued. One by one, they shared stories about the time she volunteered to help an elderly neighbor, the way she danced in the kitchen with her kids, the warmth in her eyes that could soften the hardest heart. Her name became a rallying cry for change. Advocates for domestic violence awareness began sharing her story nationwide. Her case became a symbol of resilience and a reminder that love should never cost you your life. Women who had been silently enduring similar pain found the courage to speak out, inspired by Michaela's memory. Her family started a foundation in her name, one that provides support for women in abusive relationships and offers educational workshops on recognizing early signs of danger. If we can save even one life, her mother said through tears, then Michaela's story will not have been in vain. Months passed, and the seasons changed, but the impact of her story didn't fade. Her children, though young, began to understand the gravity of what happened. They carried her memory in small, innocent ways, through drawings, songs, and bedtime prayers. Her friends still visit the place where she was laid to rest, leaving flowers, letters, and little tokens that remind them of her. And yet, even as justice was served, one question remained. How could someone so full of life end up in the hands of such darkness? It's a question that lingers in every conversation, in every quiet moment of remembrance. As we close this chapter, Michaela's story stands as both a warning and a legacy. A warning about the hidden dangers of manipulation and control disguised as love. And a legacy of strength, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, light can rise again. Her voice may have been silenced, but her story continues to echo through every woman who chooses to speak out, through every family that refuses to give up hope, and through every viewer watching right now, realizing that stories like this are not just headlines, they are real lives, real pain, real people. So tonight, as you finish this video, remember Michaela Carter. Remember her laughter, her dreams, and her strength. Share her story, Because awareness is the first step toward change. If you or someone you know is trapped in a cycle of fear or control, please reach out. Call for help, speak to someone you trust, and never believe you're alone. Michaela's story reminds us that love should heal, never harm. Don't let her story fade into silence. Like, share, and comment "Justice for Michaela" below. Let her name be a beacon, not of tragedy, but of transformation. Because when we speak their names, we keep their light alive. And Michaela's light, no matter how dark the night, will never go out.